Your bell ringer for Tuesday, September 7th. Find the distance between the points -1, 2 and 8, -8 to the nearest tenth. Okay, so let's plot these 2 points. -1, 2 and 8, -8. Go right 8 and down 8. Okay, gotta find the distance between these 2 points. Alright, let's make a right triangle. Okay, so let's figure out our up and down distance and our side to side distance, or our y distance from -8 to 2 would be 10, and from -1 to 8 would be 9. Okay, so if you look at this triangle, this is not a triple. Last week we talked about right triangle triples. We went over 4 different types of triples. This is not a triple. And so if you have a right triangle that's not a triple, we're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. And the Pythagorean Theorem says that for any right triangle, you have your legs, which are a and b. So a, you square a and you add it to b squared, that's going to equal my hypotenuse squared. So a right triangle a, b, c. The legs are a and b, the hypotenuse is c. If I square my legs and add them together, it's going to equal my hypotenuse squared. So let's use this theorem to find our hypotenuse, or our distance between the 2 points. So I'm going to square 10. Now I'll add it to 9 squared. 10 squared is 100. 9 squared is 81. 100 plus 81 is 181. Okay, so when we get to this part, we've got our hypotenuse squared, which is 181. I need my hypotenuse, or c. So if I want to get c from c squared, we just take the square root, or square root both sides. So square root of c squared is c. The square root of 181, let's find that in our calculator. Okay, putting that in my calculator, we'll get 13.45336, and it keeps going. But we're wanting to round this to the nearest tenth, which is this place right here. And so do I keep that a 4? Or do I round it up to a 5? And how do I know? Well, what we do is we look at this number. If this number right here is 5 or greater, I'm going to round that 4 up. If it's less than 5, I'm going to keep it a 4. And so since we're at 5 or greater, we're going to round that 4 up to a 5. So my nearest tenth is going to be 13.5. And when we do this, we always want to make sure that my hypotenuse is the greatest length. So my legs were 9 and 10. I know the hypotenuse has to be greater than 10, and here it is. So this seems to be reasonable. So 13.5 would be the distance between the 2 points. Okay. Okay, let's look at one where you have the hypotenuse and you have one of the legs and you're missing the other leg. And so what we can do in this situation, we know we're using the Pythagorean theorem. This is not a triple. But we have C and we have B, and we're going to solve for A here. And so what we can do is rearrange this theorem to where I have the A term on one side by itself. So let's throw the B squared over. So this is the Pythagorean theorem, it's just rearranged a little bit. And now it'll be a minus B squared, or a negative B squared. Okay, so now let's fill in what we have. We don't know A, so A squared. C is 25, so 25 squared minus, and B is 4, so 4 squared. All right, now let's do 25 squared minus 4 squared. So 25 squared is going to give you 625. 4 squared is going to give you 16. So we do 625 minus 16. We get 609. So we have A squared is 609. I need A. So how do I get A? We're going to take the square root of both sides, A, and do square root of 609 in your calculator. And that gives you 24.6779. And if I want to round to the nearest tenth, would I keep that a 6 or round it up to a 7? And we're looking at this number here. It's 5 or greater, so we're going to round it up. So that's going to be 24.7. And I need to make sure that my answer is going to be less than 25, because remember, 25 is your hypotenuse. That's your longest side. So my answer for my leg needs to be less than the hypotenuse. In this case, it is.